I think for the sake of time, so we have time to all talk together, I think I'll get started. My name is Suzanne Macy, and welcome to the Community Exchange hosted by the Network of Conservation Educators and Practitioners, or what we call NCEP, which is a capacity development program for the Center for Biodiversity and Conservation at the American Museum of Natural History. And we're co-hosting this with the Education Committee of the Society of Conservation Biology North America. And I am Suzanne Macy, as I mentioned. I'm the Assistant Director for Capacity Development here at the CBC. I'm joined today by members of the NCEP team, Anna, Riley, Nadav. You might see NCEP in our little Zoom names, and feel free to wave. Also, members of the SCBNA Education Committee are joining us today. And I'd like to pass it over now to Bernie, who's the Managing Director of SCBNA. Bernie.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you to the rest of the NCEP team for allowing us to collaborate on this great opportunity. As Suzanne mentioned, my name is Bernie Traversari, and I am the Managing Director of the Society for Conservation Biology North America. For folks here who are not familiar with SCBNA, we are a professional society dedicated to advancing the science and practice of conserving Earth's biological diversity, and we are affiliated with the Global Society for Conservation Biology. In a nutshell, we work to support environmental conservationists in the US and Canada. And we do that through a variety of different means. That includes professional development opportunities like today's webinar. We also host a number of research and publication journals that are available to SCB members and non-SCB members. And we also host a biannual conference, the next iteration of which will be taking place this summer in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in collaboration with the Society for Ecological Restoration. And I'll talk a bit more about that at the end of this session. So we support everyone and anyone engaged in conservation in the region. And if you want to go, okay, awesome. One quick thing about SBNA, all of our work is volunteer-based, and we have a number of different committees that engage in different facets of that work. One of those committees is our Education Committee. The Education Committee focuses on creating resources for conservation education within our network, and it is made up of educators, students, and others interested in this topic. It is an amazing group, does amazing work. So I encourage anyone who's interested in it to check out our website. And also, if you're interested in this work, please reach out and join the committee. We're always looking for new members to help support our many initiatives. So once again, thank you for the opportunity to be here today, and I look forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Bernie. NCEP is very excited to be co-hosting this event with you and the Education Committee. For those that don't know a little bit about NCEP, over the past 25 years, we've been a leader in producing and publishing open access educational modules or educational materials on topics in conservation and biodiversity. We encourage you to check out our collection of materials. We'll go ahead and put a link to it in the chat. Additionally, a specific material that we're highlighting here today is a NCEP, or a Network of Conservation Educators and Practitioners perspective piece entitled Climate Change and the Voice from the Classroom. We're fortunate to have with us today the author, Luiz Caldeira, joining, and he'll share a bit about his work and what is in that perspective piece that will set the stage for our later conversation with each other. We have a link to that perspective piece in the chat that you can check out at any point. This is what it looks like. It was published in our most recent issue of our online journal, Lessons in Conservation. And before we hand it over to Louise to give a little overview, I just wanted to mention that Lessons in Conservation is the most recent issue, has a bunch of different materials that you could check out. It's under the theme of diverse skills in conservation. It has student-facing educational resources and to support learners to contribute to the scientific process, collect data, analyze and model existing data sets, and even learn how to use R. We also want to note that all of our materials that are in Lessons in Conservation are also on our freely accessible online database or online module collection at ncep.amnh.org. This version of our resources are easy to downloadable, easy to modify files like Microsoft Word documents, so you can really adapt it to what your need is in the classroom. Take out paragraphs, add your own instructions, etc. Um, we also on this online collection provide teacher resources like PowerPoints, data sets, teaching instructions that you would need to register to be able to download. You just click that hyperlink that's in blue on the screen as you see here, and then you can download those materials as well. Again, free to use. And I just want to end my little spiel by saying that if you're inspired what you hear today, you want to learn more about the NCEP collection, you would like to maybe even have contribute a resource that you've used in your teaching, I encourage you to reach out to us at ncep.amnh.org. And and then I really want to start the conversation and get going. So we're going to do a little poll everywhere. And so some of you might be familiar with this service. We've put a link in the chat if you're on a computer and you would like to click on the hyperlink for poll everywhere. You can answer this question. You could also scan the QR code that's on your screen right now and do it via your phone, or you can text. And you can see the instructions for who to text and what message to text to get involved. It might ask you to add your name. You don't have to. You can hit skip. We're not interested in who's saying what here. But the question is, what words do you hear students saying when you're talking about climate change? I'm going to give you a moment to get settled and try that. And then we're going to see what people say or what they hear. Okay, I'm gonna do a reveal that will uh folks seeing this.
Not yet for me.
Okay, that's good to know. How about now?
Yes.
Great. So it's a little dynamic. It's changing based on new answers coming in. And the larger the word, as word clouds work, the more frequently people have submitted that word. Scary. ChatGPT. There you go. Lie. Worried is coming up as a front contender of often used or heard words. Betrayed. Ooh, that one's love. There we go. There's a opposite of betrayed, perhaps. All right. Well, I encourage you to continue to, you can view this on your own as well if you go to the website, I believe, or if you're logged in, but we'll let you continue and we will capture what the end result of this is as well. But you can see some trends, and I think that can help us as we move towards our presenters talk, Louise's talk, and also as we move into discussions together. Okay, so. So with that, continue to feel free to continue to work on that. I'll go back to it. I just wanted to start by giving you a little bit of an insight about community exchanges in general and this particular one, what our hopes are for this event. This is really an opportunity for people to talk in community about things. So the idea is that we hope that you can connect with a community of educators. We uh, who are navigating similar issues in their classrooms or in their communities. We hope that you're able to reflect on students' perspectives and their areas of comfort or discomfort with topics such as climate change. We hope that you can maybe even exchange some strategies about how you might incorporate student voices into your classroom and share challenges and find support in community. So that is the overall goal of this event, and I would now like to just give you a little insight about how the event is going to run. We're going to spend the next 10 minutes learning from Luiz about his work, and then we're going to have a period of 5 to 10 minutes for a Q&A. After that, we're going to have actual dynamic discussion. We're going to break out into breakout rooms and we'll have some prompts for discussion. We'll have a mechanism to take notes if you're so interested to, but this really isn't about the outcomes in the sense of the materials. It's really about the conversations that you're able to have. Then we'll have a brief report out at the end and we'll share some additional resources to wrap it up. If any point you have any questions or concerns, feel free to use the chat or even, unmute. This is sort of supposed to be a casual and collaborative space that we're working on. And so with that, I'd like to pass it off to our guest speaker today. Luiz, I'm going to pass it off to you and you can introduce your work.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening for you in India. Hi, pessoal do Brasil. Thank you all for coming. First of all, I want to thank you, Suzanne, Anna, Nadav, and Riley, and NCEP staff for the invitation, for the confidence and support on this presentation. It's a pleasure to be here at an NCEP seminar, and I want to say how important is it for me to give back what the experience at the American Museum of Natural History did for me. As you can see in this recent picture, it was a great time to me, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all. Can you please go to the next? Okay, thank you. Let me start by introducing myself and talking about my place and the context. My name is Luiz, and I am a biologist, PhD in education, with a 10-year-long experience as a high school teacher. I have been working with teacher education. I don't like to say teacher preparation. I prefer teacher education since 2008. And 2 years ago, in 2024, I was at the American Museum as a visiting researcher when I met some of the NCEP colleagues and other from the Division of Education at the museum. I'm so happy and a little bit nervous to be here today, sharing my experience and learning so much from you all. And since 2010, I work as a professor and researcher on science education at the Federal University of Santa Maria. You can see in those two pictures. It's a public, secular, and a free institution of higher education with over 25,000 students and something like 2,000 PhD professors like me. On the next slide, we are here to talk about the climate change and its approach in classrooms. And I am here because of this Link magazine article some of you read, and I invite others to read it. The article talks about the impact of floods on science teaching. We suffer historical floods here in the south of Brazil 2 years ago. And my motivations, the mode of this article is what is the role of education and educators like us at times like these? How important is to listen to students and consider their ideas and attitudes when we are planning classes? And I have the perception that most of the decisions, including the public policies, ignore the thoughts, the desires, and the interests of the students. And I like to think if we, the educators, do we know our students well enough? Do we know what they think and how they behave in relation to climate issues, to climate changes? Do we, educators and the decision makers, consider this information in the development of curricula, educational resources, the textbooks? And in Brazil, and especially in Rio Grande do Sul, my state, the answer is no. We don't know the students as well as we need to know, and we did not consider their interests and their behaviors on public policies. And we know this based on research, on data, and on evidence, as you can see in the next slides. Well, but again, we need to know the context. How did we achieve these results? Rio Grande do Sul, as you can see in the map, is a state in the very south of Brazil, bordering with Argentina and Uruguay. In numbers, just for you from the US to know it better, it has the Arizona size, the Arizona state size, and the Michigan state population. And Rio Grande do Sul contributes to the Brazilian economy as much as the New York State contributes to the United States economy in terms of percentage, with a huge difference that Rio Grande do Sul is a rural state. The economy of the state is based on agriculture and livestock farming. In Brazil, you can see in those two pictures, we at the Rio Grande do Sul, we are known as the state with the best meat because of the cattle, of course, the best barbecue, and the state of chimarrão. Chimarrão or mate is this kind of tea we drank with a straw from a wooden cup. This is something very particular of Rio Grande do Sul. Can you please, the next? Yeah, okay, thank you. For the research I described at the article, we use the ROSE questionnaire. ROSE questionnaire, this one I have on my hands. It is an instrument in paper like this, 6-page long, and the purpose of this research as a whole is to listen to students' voice and discover what they think about science, about technology, and the environmental issues. And in 2022, between June and September, we visit 54 schools from all over the places in the state and collected that data from almost 2,000 high school students with 15 years old, more or less. And we visit schools like this. You can see in the next slide, please. Some pictures of public schools at Rio Grande do Sul, the students, the building. Perhaps these photos show schools that are not so different from yours. And in 2023, we published a report. This one I have in my hands with parts in English, which you can access using this QR code or the link on the chat that Nadav has put the link on the chat for you if you want to download it and to know more details. But on the next slide, I will show you some results we select from the article. In the link article, you can see more details, but those data shows that now we know how students think about environmental challenges and climate change. When we ask about the source of pollution, where the pollution comes from, 74% of young students consider industries and as the main responsible for pollution, and 25% more or less attributed to agriculture or livestock. If you remember, we are on a rural state, so those responses maybe reflect some of these impressions. In contrast to scientific data, you can see on the right of this board that reveals that in Brazil, deforestation and land use were responsible for 86, more or less 86% of all greenhouse gas emissions. And the next slide, please, Suzanne. Here we can see that only something like 57% of these students, these young students, are optimistic about the future of the planet. Something that we saw on the word cloud we did before. We can discuss if the pandemic have influenced their projections for the future, but it is still an open question. Remember that we did this research in 2022, something like 1 or 2 years after the pandemic, if it has finished. Next slide, please, Suzanne. Okay. And now, after hearing the student voice, we know their interests in science and technology. So we, the teachers, can plan classes to be more connected with students. We can say 3 years after the visits that the curricula are changing, not as fast as we would like, but it's changing. And teacher preparation courses are changing too. Here at the university, I work with teacher preparation that we call licenciatura, is something is a course to prepare teachers for their basic education. I can say that the teacher preparation courses are changing too. And next slide, please, Suzanne. And we know what they think and their attitudes in relation to climate change. And discussions on these topics are reaching teaching resources and textbooks, what make us very proud and optimistic about it. The next slide. I can say that 2 years after the data collection, this was the situation in the state of Rio Grande do Sul. You can see on your left, thousands of people homeless, 200 deaths, school destroyed or closed. As you can see on the picture on your right, it's a school science lab after the floods in May 2 years ago. And the motivation is now to talk to young people again, to understand if their perceptions and attitudes about the environment have changed since the tragedy. I'd like to do it again. We are trying to do this soon in a longitudinal study over time to see the difference if they change their perceptions of climate changes and environmental issues after the tragedy. The next and the last slide, I'd like to thank you all for attention. Sorry about any language error. And please contact me. This is my email if you have any question. If you want the original Rose questionnaire in English, I can send it to you. If you want to be part of Rose's project, we can talk about it. I hope we have a good discussion going forward. Thank you all again. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. And we do have some time for questions if folks want to, ask a little bit more details about any aspect of Luis's work or where he's from, the context he's from. Riley just put in the chat again the link to the perspective piece that gives an overview that we published that can refer to it, and the broader link to the larger journal issue that came from. So feel free, you can go ahead and start adding questions in the chat. If you want, you can raise your hand and unmute yourself and talk directly if you prefer. I'm going to actually stop sharing for a second so we have an opportunity if people want to speak up.
We have a student actually who wants to speak up.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Inaya, is that how you say it?
Yeah, hi, I'm Inaya. As I told before in the chat, I'm a student from Beacon House Gojar campus from Pakistan. So I have a question which is a different question. I don't know if anyone is gonna ask any question like this. I actually, as a student, want to organize a virtual meeting with a foreign school or even a team. So we or my student fellows and I can share the events we had arranged, which include the rejuvenation of a park, which we have done in our small town. We want to showcase our idea and photos related to it. We would like to collaborate with the foreign school as we are based in a small town, our students have very limited exposure to international interactions, and a little experience like this, communicating with schools abroad, would be a great opportunity for us.
Naya, well, thank you for your stepping out here and your request. If what I think makes most sense, if you want, you could put a contact information, maybe an email address in the chat. So if anyone who's, a teacher here who has some ideas, they could reach out to follow up. And you're very welcome to reach out to us at the Network of Conservation Educators and Practitioners. I'm going to put our email address in the chat so you can follow up and I can do a little brainstorming.
Sure, thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Anyone else? We have a follow-up question in the chat for you.
Sure, I
There's-
have seen it. Let me just give a reply to it.
yeah,
Thank
can
you so
reply
much.
in the chat. Yeah, of course. Louise, Jeanette, feel free. Unmute.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question. Since you mentioned that the curricular, it looks like well behind what the expectations or the situation that we are facing right now about climate change and all this loss of biodiversity, how do you perceive that the government is open at the public system of education in Brazil to start changing the curricula as fast as is needed?
Great. Thank you, Jeanette, for the question. Here in Brazil, we have a common curricula. It's not so old. It's something like 2017. It was as a law in Brazil. We have to follow this national curriculum. But you know that the teachers in classrooms do not follow the curriculum strictly. They try to bring to the classrooms things different from the curricula, the official curricula, and this is what I can see on the classes of basic education here at the Rio Grande do Sul. So it's not an official changing, but it's a practical change we can see in the classrooms after the tragedy, after the disaster, and not only on science classes, but on all the subjects. We can see that the curricula are changing from the official one to the practical one. I think it's the thing I can say to you.
Great, thank you. Anna.
I have a question,
Yeah.
Luis. I've always been so interested in this thing that your study reveals, which is a kind of a mismatch between what the students perceive to be the root causes or the proximate causes of the climate crisis in Brazil, and the fact that it's their economic base, right? Which I think that confronting that is difficult in the classroom. And I think, for a lot of American classrooms, for example, confronting the role of the United States in climate is also a similar kind of difficult thing to confront sometimes. And so I wonder what are your thoughts on that, what you think is behind those misconceptions, and also how to how to approach this, if you have any advice in the classroom.
I don't know if it's an advice, but I think that the schools and the university and seminars like this are the places to discuss it. And if we are immersed on an environment that have this kind of contradiction, we live on a consumption lives, and we know the problem that it brings to the environment. We have to be critical about it. So my advice is that the teachers have to bring these questions and these discussions to the students and to places like this in order to think to bring the question to the scientific place. I mean, unless we live on this contradictional places or ambient, we have to make the discussions, and we can do it with the students, with the young people. They like to talk about it, and they don't want to leave this future decisions to us, to the specialists, to the experts. They want to be part of this kind of discussion. So I don't know if it's an advice, but I'd like to encourage the professors and the students, the teachers, to bring these discussions to the classrooms.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Louise? You can always, Jeanette, we got your hand up, or is that from before?
Yes, I want to follow up a little bit
Sure,
what
fine.
was just mentioned. Okay, following the previous question of Anna, it's how you are empowering the students for them to feel that the action is also of them power right now, and not just in the adults or in this teachers or parents or specialists who can deal with the problem. Do you have any strategies for teachers that you can share with us?
Yeah, I don't know if strategies are, I don't like to say what or how do the teachers need to act in their classrooms, because it's not my place of work. But Jeanette, I can say that listen to the student voice is so much important. Some of them have the anxiety, is it, Anna? I don't know, anxiety, and they think that we, the older generation, we leave them to them a worse word, a word that will be destroyed, and some of us have the discussion, the discourse that they have the power, and the young students, the young people, have the power and the response. They are responsible to the changings. They don't want this kind of weight, this kind of responsibility. I think that this is the main strategy. Listen to the students and discuss with them about responsibles, about the governmental responsible and individual ones.
Thank you so much. And I think that all these questions get to some of the core. I think all of us have different experiences with this as well. And this is why, this is a community exchange. And what we're going to move on to now is breakout rooms where we can have a little bit more deeper discussions on these themes and learn from diversity of perspectives. We thank Luiz so much for sharing his expertise and the research study he had, and highlighting the resource that you can review and look in more detail, and the report that we will attach as a PDF to a follow-up email. But I would like to quickly transition to the next part of our session, which is really us all talking to each other in conversation. We're gonna split up into breakout rooms, and we're going to focus on these 3 prompts. But really, this is to get the conversation going. We don't want to be prescriptive here. If there's something you really want to talk about, feel free to bring it up with your group. But the prompts that we have include how do you talk and feel about climate change topics in your classroom? How do you incorporate student voices into your classroom or curriculum or assessment? And the third one is, recognizing we're in a moment of multiple crises: climate change, biodiversity loss, political and social turmoil, environmental injustices, social injustices. How might a classroom environment really help students and educators navigate and explore these together? And with that, I'm going to share my screen and pass it over to Dave Randall, who works at the Education Department here at the museum, to tell us a little bit about some of the work that they're doing. Dave, get it away.
All right. So I'm going to kind of do a shameless plug for the program that I direct, the online teacher education programs here at the museum. And we have some Coursera courses that are available. If you look, at any of the Coursera catalog. Coursera is not quite free anymore. They ask you to pay up front now. But some of our courses are free, but our flagship are the seminars on science courses. And these are 6-week-long graduate level courses. Students can get 3 graduate credits for the course. They're taught by an educator and a research scientist. They're written by, mostly curator level experienced research scientists. And they're completely asynchronous, so they can be done kind of from anywhere in the world. Next slide. We have a bunch of them. We have 14 right now, so on kind of all different topics in the life, earth, and physical science. Next slide. I want to point out the ecology course there, because Suzanne and Anna were 2 of the primary authors on this course. And next slide. So we have evolution, genetics. The evolution course was written by Joel Craycraft and Niles Eldridge. Next slide. Space, Time, and Motion, we'd like to say was written by Albert Einstein, but it's kind of about Albert Einstein. Next slide. And one of our newest courses is most of these courses deal with the science, but our most recent course is on teaching climate change. So it's really the pedagogy of teaching about climate. And so it gets into a lot of the topics that we've just been discussing right now. And next slide. So I'd like to invite people to think about this. Now, the courses, we can't offer them for free, but we do have some financial assistance available, and we would love to partner with people to figure out how to go after some funding to take cohorts of teachers through a couple of our courses. And for this audience, I think it would make sense to start with the science of climate change. So this is our climate change course. We have climate modelers that wrote part of this. Dr. Gavin Schmidt is now the director of the Goddard Institute for Space Studies, which is NASA's climate model. So this course really deals with like energy budget, everything from the energy budget and what causes the climate to change. The ocean as a cauldron of climate issue, goes into how scientists study the climate with models, and gets into at the end into some of the IPCC information, how the IPCC works, what they're finding, and also some societal implications. And then that would lead nicely into the next slide, which is our teaching climate change course, which we wrote with Dr. Mark Windschettle And we use, if you're not familiar with his book on teaching climate change, it's not very big, but it's packed with ideas about how to teach climate change in a resilient and justice-oriented way. Next slide. So this is kind of where we go with it. So we kind of start with some big views on teaching climate change, move into the science of climate change, because we don't really want to make a prerequisite, although if people took the climate change course beforehand, they would be perfectly prepared. And then we get right into solutions. So we use, if you're not familiar with the En-ROAD simulator, it's a really wonderful tool, and they have lots of resources for running model UNs and having people think about stakeholder positions and seeing what we can do about about reducing the amount of carbon in the atmosphere. And then we focus a lot on lessons and lessons that tell a human story. We were lucky enough to get an hour with Dr. Robin Wall-Kimmerer. And so if you're not familiar with her work, she wrote Braiding Sweetgrass and has a really interesting perspective on the intersection between indigenous ecological knowledge and Western science. And then we get into models and then the emotions of teaching about climate change. Yeah, so we feature, in my group, I mentioned the work of Nellie Tsai a little bit, and she's a teacher from Southern California who has worked with Mark and a couple other people to design a year-long course on teaching climate change to high school kids. And so she shares her experience and her insights in that, and it's really powerful. And next slide. Mark provides a really interesting framework. He's really good at breaking things down into components. And so the course is sort of rife with like his way of kind of compartmentalizing things and breaking stuff down. And so here's one of the frameworks that he uses. So I would like to invite people to share this with prospective students who might be looking for graduate credit. And also, if you think that you have a cohort of people who we can go out and maybe find some money to take them through, an experience that we facilitate either in New York or collectively online, I would love to hear from you. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. And on the screen, you'll have the link. We could also put in the chat the link to the website and how to get in touch with Dave if you have any follow-ups. I'm cognizant of the time, and I just wanted to end with a couple other announcements of opportunities or resources that you might find interesting. The Center for Biodiversity and Conservation hosts the Student Conference on Conservation Science every year in October. Applications are currently open if you have any students who have independent research projects on topics of conservation or biodiversity who might be interested in presenting either virtually and in person in October. We encourage you to check out SCCS on our website and learn more. And the Network of Conservation Educators and Practitioners, NCEP, is having another virtual online event on April 13th, which is really geared towards folks who are teaching about how to use genetics and genomic techniques towards museum collection research. And we'll share more information about that in our follow-up email. And I'll just quickly hand it back to Bernie to mention NACCR.
Yes, thank you so much, Suzanne. As I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we will be hosting our biannual conference this summer in collaboration with the Society for Ecological Restoration. It will be called it is called the North American Congress for Conservation and Restoration. It is the first time that both societies are coming together for this North American Congress. So we're very excited. It's going to be a great group of folks that are involved in conservation and restoration throughout the region. So we encourage you to visit our website, learn more, and register for the conference.
Thank you, Bernie. And thank you again to the Education Committee of the Society of Conservation Biology North America for co-hosting this event with us. And with that, I would like to say thank you for joining. We're linking an evaluation for the event in the chat, and it will be included in the follow-up email as well. We'd love to have your feedback and your thoughts about future events that we could host. Feel free to reach out to us at ncep@amnh.org. And I figured I'd just take a quick screenshot of the word cloud that we generated in the beginning to sort of give you the final result of what that is. And I guess maybe I challenge you after talking in that breakout room and the report back is thinking about how we reframe this in solutions orientation and how we might be able to change some of these words, the size of some of these words. By talking to our students and working with them and learning from them. Thank you so much to Luiz for his explanation of his work and joining us today. And I'll stick around for a few more minutes if people have questions. And thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. Nice to see you, Bonnie.
Bonnie's a celeb. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Signing
nice.
autographs
Thank
later.
you, Luiz. Is he still here? I don't know if he's still here.
Thank you, Ana. Ouvi sim, obrigado.
Yeah.
Thank you, Suzanne and Nadav and Riley. Thank you all.
Thank you, Luiz. It's been a pleasure.